So what we're going to be talking about today is generally how to use Twitter in a journalistic setting, right? How to use it as a tool. I don't know if you're familiar, but during the Tahrir Square uprising in Egypt, part of the Arab Spring, Twitter was really important to get that story out because there weren't reporters on the ground fast enough, but there were people on the ground. And for a long while, the Egyptian military, which controls the telecommunications, they left the internet up. And so these people were able to get back out to friends of theirs that were here in the United States or in Europe or Britain and actually start reporting the story to some extent. And that's now been used all over the place. They've been trying to do it in Syria, but Syria has knocked down their internet. So they can't get those stories out. It's still very difficult to get the stories out of Syria. So it's become kind of a cool thing. Between Twitter and Facebook, a lot of stuff has been happening. But we're going to talk about you, right? So becoming a Tweeporter or my first Pulitzer in 140 characters. I just made that. Let's see if I can. Is there better lighting? Is that a little better? Can you see better? Yeah. If I do this, is that too dark? All right, let's try that. All right, so on your mark, here's what we got to do. First thing is a handle. How many people in the room right now have a Twitter account? Raise your hand high, please, so I can see. Everybody. Okay, so did you all like prep for this, or you already had Twitter accounts? Just got it? Just got it? Had one for a while? Okay, 1 year? Keep your hands up. 1 year? 2 years? 3 years? 4 years? 5 years? Good. Cool. All right, that helps. So the handle is pretty important. When you go into a journalistic setting, if you're going to be working for an organization, whether it's going to be a mainline, traditional news operation, newspaper, television, radio, magazine, typically you're going to go under some umbrella of theirs for your handle, which means generally they're going to want you to have a handle of theirs for you. You can always have your own personal handle, but they're probably going to ask you to put a statement in your description that says these tweets are mine and not my employer's. So they know that there's a little wall in between the two of you. So choosing the handle is important. For your personal handle, it should be something that people recognize, right? Trying to see if he's in here. No, he's not. So one of my students in my other class, he's known as Kegmaster, so that's what he is on Twitter. And people just know him as Kegmaster, and that's who he is. So, he kind of stays with that. But I have a handle, it's called Todd from NJ, because I grew up in New Jersey. That's my personal handle. And I have one for my business, and I'll show you some of those. All right, so let's get set. Here we go. So I'm going to walk you through actually creating a profile. I know some of you have done this already. We'll do this pretty quickly. But these are the main ingredients, right? Your name, your real name. Twitter requires a real name. A description of some kind. You have, I believe it's 160 characters in that description box. It's important so that people understand who you are, what you are doing, what's your purpose, and in a personal sense, what are your interests, let's say. For your actual paper, for your actual organization that you're working for, you want to indicate what that organization is, maybe what department you're attached to, something like that. And then something interesting about you. It doesn't have to be all boring in business. Do something interesting about you. I do origami with my cats. I don't know, something interesting. A URL, if you have it. If you have a personal homepage, put a URL in there. If you have a LinkedIn page, put that in there. If you have a Facebook profile that you're willing to share with other people, put that in there. Somehow get stuff in there. So for your newspaper, for your organization, it's going to be that particular URL. And then if it has a sub-piece to it to a department that you work in, you'll include that. Photo is very important. On a personal account, it can be kind of a goofy photo. On a professional account, it can be a somewhat quirky photo. It doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be really goofy, but it doesn't have to be really straight. Like, don't scan your ID card. Bad. right? Just do something that shows your personality. What that does is for people who follow you, they get a sense of who you are, right? They read the description, they see your URL, they may research that, they see your photo, and they kind of get a sense of, oh yeah, I kind of get who that person is. The background, a lot of people forget this. Twitter has a background to it, right? You can go and change that in Twitter. You can change the colors, change the patterns, change the palette, if you will. You can go out and get free backgrounds to change that up. Many organizations have their own standard background. So it'll be the name of the publication or the organization, usually up on the left-hand side, with some information about it with some coloring background. That unifies all of their accounts within the organization, right? Just a way so that when you look at all of the sidelines, if you look at all of the MT10s, if you look, they all have the same feel. You know that's all the staff people there. Okay, so this is a quick run through. First page asking me to sign in. For whatever reason, it did not like my MTSU email address. It threw me out. It took me almost 10 minutes to get registered to this new address. My new address at MTSU is todd@mtsu. I tried for like DigiProf, New Media Prof, didn't like any of those. They were all taken. You can tweet from your phone, any phone that can use text messaging. So you don't need a smartphone to tweet. You can text to 40404. Twitter connects that incoming from that phone number to your Twitter account. And so you can do direct tweets, right? Direct messages. You can, a little hard to do retweets because you're not really getting the tweets. You will get some if you tell them to send them all to your phone. Beware, if you have a very active Twitter account, just make sure you have an unlimited text plan because it will just keep feeding stuff all the time, right? What else? Hard to send URLs because you don't have a good way to shorten them. And I don't know, I haven't done a photo tweet. Oh wait, no, I haven't. I haven't done a photo tweet off of the text system, so I haven't tried it. That would be a multimedia message, and I just haven't done it. So, if you guys have questions as we're going through, please just pop them right up. Let me know what they are.
Can I see a show of hands of how many people have a phone that they can go into the field with and tweet?
Well, it should be everybody, because you can tweet from any phone, as long as you have text messaging. That's the minimum requirement, text messaging requirement. Who's on Android right now? Android, and then iPhones? Okay.
50-50 almost.
Pardon?
50-50.
Yeah, just about. There are good clients for both. Twitter is not always the best client on the phone. There's better clients, better programs to use there. All right, so here I am building up my Twitter stuff. Thank you. I'm here. It sent me an email. I had to confirm that, and there's my email. There is me. I'm for real. I'm like a real thing. In the meantime, I was adding stuff. So I had gone in and added some connections here. These are from a couple different places. I'll show you how to add some connections. How do all of you generally get your followers? Where do your followers come from?
Friends.
All friends? Okay. Who do you follow? Writers? Okay.
And I'm going to make suggestions of people to follow about a week from now, after this event
there's
is
bunches,
over.
bunches. Yeah, I'll show you a couple of ways to find followers, actually. What I decided to do was I decided to follow MTSU initially. So I went out and looked at the MTSU accounts. There are a lot of them. Oh my gosh. Organizational accounts. I was stunned at how many MTSU accounts there were. Run by departments. I think there's one department. Do we have an archaeology department? I don't know. It was like some weird, I never knew we had the department and they have an account. Math department has an account. I don't know. Tweeting formulas. I don't know why. You can look for all your popular people. At some point it'll suggest people. Right now it's suggesting heavily for me to follow Britney Spears because she's coming up on The Voice, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, you can go search for people. This is one way to do it. But you can dig in, and there's actually a number of different nice categories in here. But you can also do searches. If you want to add to your follower list, import your email into here. The way Twitter works is each Twitter account is tied to one email address. And what that does for Twitter is it gives them a verified person, a verified identity. So if you want to have 2 Twitter accounts, you need 2 email addresses. Right? Many people will set up a throwaway like Gmail account because the email address is really not used for anything. It's really just used for Twitter to verify that you are an individual. You're not just bulking stuff up. So yeah, you can go in here and search, find Twitter matches email addresses it finds in your mailbox or your contact list, and then throws those people up on screen, and you can follow whoever you want to. All right, image, right? Talked about image. I got some comments. I showed this to my survey class. I did a dry run, so I'd be really prepared for you. And I showed them the image, and they're like, "Why do you use that image?" I don't know. Just I have 4 or 5 images in my little picture folder, and I didn't want to show my ID card. So I uploaded an image. That's my manga face. I also have a Simpson face that I decided was unprofessional. And then I have a bio. Here's this bio down here, right? 160 characters. I put stuff in there. So mine says professor, creator, dot connector. I can put anything in there. I can put, I believe I can put a URL in there. And I can hashtag it if I want to. So I can put things in here. One of the things to remember is that Google, right, as a search engine, it searches Twitter too. Right? So it finds stuff. It finds everywhere things are. And it does crawl through here and it finds text. So, it's not a bad thing to put good stuff in there. I found a really great article on creating a great Twitter resume for students on Twitter. Like your Twizzame, I guess. All right, let's go. All right, so here's my fleshed out thing. It wants me to follow Mitch Joel, Lady Gaga, and Oxfam. So this is the basic main screen. Down here we have what's trending. Last night was trending If We Are Dating, Words I Say When I'm Mad, Mi Mama Tambien Mi Dijo, Britney Made History Again, Sabella Pobregago, Feliz Cuplicar, and then you can't see it. Oh, it's not on this one. It'll be live. Benghazi is trending right now.
Do you know why Benghazi is trending?
What happened in Benghazi yesterday?
You read the New York Times. Remember, you're supposed to be reading the New York Times online or inside line. Say it again. They attacked the U.S. consul, but what's the bigger story? What's the U.S. Did someone else also say that down here? The U.S. ambassador
was killed.
Is presumed dead. It's not confirmed yet.
No, I heard it this morning.
It's confirmed.
On NPR. It's confirmed by the State Department.
First diplomatic killing in 20 years, right?
First ambassador killing in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And he was very well liked in Libya, which is disturbing. And my understanding, it all came from some on YouTube who made fun of Allah. It's always some whatever. Anyway, main screen. There I am, my profile picture, my tweets, my who I'm following, 20 people at this point. Followers, I have none. I can compose a new tweet there. I'll show you that in a minute. Who to follow. I can go and look at everybody it says it wants me to follow. I can browse categories, which I've done to get some of these. I can go back and find friends and bring my email. So you can do that at any time. You don't have to. You can change the trends that you see there. So this is giving me, and I don't know how I figure this out. This is giving me trends based on who I follow, and then I have to figure this piece out. And based on what websites I visit, and that means Twitter's laying down a cookie or something and following me around. That's a little creepy. Right, so that's who I've got up there now. Now, notice they changed. Now, Ashoka Changemakers, Big Sean, and Peer Index. What I want to show you is this drop down off of the little figure up there, that little bust of a person. Now I can get into some other things. I can send direct messages. In Twitter, direct messages, especially in this interface, direct messages can turn into a kind of little private text message service. So you can send direct messages back and forth between individuals. So if you're out in the field or you're in the office and somebody else is out in the field, you can direct message your contact and say, I need you over at the bookstore right now. There's a huge, they're burning the Constitution. Go, 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 right? You can send that kind of message to them. And they can reply back to you directly. But I want to show you lists. Lists are actually useful. I think they'll be useful for you. So here I am. I'm going to hook up a list here. I haven't tweeted. You'd see something there if I had tweeted. I'm going to create a new list. I name it. I can describe it if I want to. I can make it public or private. Advantage to a public list is you're providing a service to the community. You are part of an ecosystem when you're working in Twitter, in Facebook, wherever. You're part of the larger social culture. So
for this event, we will be public.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, you would be public with pretty much everything you're doing.
Yep.
These lists are useful, especially in the case of let's take a Benghazi for example. Right now, if I were a reporter and I couldn't get into Benghazi, but I had contacts in Benghazi, I'd be direct messaging them, and I'd be putting them on a list, and I'd be following that list. With that list, I can follow just them. I can see only what they're doing. Right? So now I can keep up with what's happening all the time. That's pretty sweet. Private, of course, is just sort of like your tuck-away list. It's the kind of list, maybe it's your family members or something like that. So I did a list called MTSU Tweeters. It's a public list. Anybody can see it. And I basically listed, there's the folks here. These are people I was going to add from MTSU. That top one, I think it's that top one, there's a master MTSU list of all MTSU tweeters that I think will retweet out to that big list. We were talking about that yesterday. So there's kind of some cool stuff out there. All right. So here's what I ended up with. This is my list. I'm looking only at the list now. I'm not looking at my general feed. So this is what's coming out of the feed right now. I have a little trouble with this. I guess you really need to know what was happening. But who did the Blue Raiders play? Is that basketball? Volleyball? Who did they play last night?
I think it was volleyball.
Volleyball? All right, yeah. So not a good tweet. Should say V-ball or something, because there's lots of sports going on here. I had no idea what it was. So, but yeah, as you can see here, and this is communications. They have some sort of little retweet set up so that they're retweeting pretty much anything that's coming into them, which is good and bad. Can be good and bad. But that's an example of a list. I can follow that list. I don't have to follow all of the lists. Here's categories. Here's how to go and find those things. In this case, I did a search on new media, because that's what I do. And I found a whole bunch of really cool places to follow. I'm following the GOP New Media Caucus. I didn't know they had one. That's like a congressional caucus about new media. I want to find out what they're thinking. And then this is actually pretty good for other than journalism stuff. The federal government has really great stuff around the web and social media. Great social media policies. The Air Force has probably the best social media reaction policy anywhere. Everybody copies it. Because it's really well done. And it's important for you as journalists to understand how those policies work. Because at some point you're going to have to know where you are in that policy. Oh, I know that you're keeping an eye on this thing and that the next step for you is to send it over to this. You want to know the flow of what your stuff is, what's happening. I did news. These are news sources. Another search, I can create a list out of this if I want to, but this is just a list of sources that are out there. You can follow these, take one or two, follow them. I would pick probably a domestic and an international, and then compare the reporting on different stories. And this is a journalism list, so it's finding some things that might be interesting to you. Here's cool. I didn't know the BBC has a college of journalism. I want to go there. That should be pretty cool. There are a lot of really good journalism tweeters out there. And almost last but not least, this is really, I just want to show you the profile screen. It does extend further down here. Things I want to point out here. You can add a location to your tweets. That's very popular on the mobile platform. It's up to you if you want to do it. If you're in an area where you know people are following your tweets, for example, if you were in Egypt following Tahrir Square, as a reporter, I probably wouldn't put a location on my tweets because it's a longitude, latitude location. Right? It's not like down on the corner.
And why wouldn't, follow up with what he said, why wouldn't you put a geographical location if you're in a hot zone? You're an editor, you're trying to keep your reporters alive. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't, in fact, you would make sure that they didn't have a geographical.
Yeah. It's bad enough that you're using a cell phone to send tweets.
Yeah.
That's
traceable.
locatable. You throw a geolocation on it and
You're dead.
you're just a target. Yeah, you're just a target. That's how drones find you, Yeah, not that, anyone uses drones to do that. But this is a desktop application right now. I'm actually on the web, but I would be on the desk. So I could put a location on there, or I could delete all the location information ever attached to any of my tweets. So if you attach location information to your tweets as you go, you may say, you know what? I don't want anybody to know where I was. I'm taking all of this off. It's all going away. A couple things to mark down here. Maybe if they deal with this, I don't know. Tweet media. So display media that may contain sensitive content. Right, so that's if information comes in that's been deemed sensitive by the author, because you can actually mark your media as containing sensitive content. So that may be the case of you have a pile of bodies. Sounds terrible. It's a fire, let's say, and you have some really grievous looking stuff. You may want to mark that as sensitive, so that people who may be picking it up, following your feed, aren't going to just jump on it and take a look at it. Make sure you set your time zone right. I did reset mine, so it was correct. But time zone is not a bad thing. And then there are people translating this stuff all the time, which is kind of cool. There is more stuff underneath there. All right, so go through the basic stuff. We're going to talk about, really quickly, composing a tweet, photos, retweets, direct tweets, hashtags.
Do you think we can actually compose a tweet right now, here?
Yeah.
Okay, let's... but keep going. It's right on time. Okay. So think about the kinds of things that you might be tweeting from the field and that you might be guiding reporters to tweet from the field. And when you see the database that we get to you later today or early tomorrow morning, you'll have a sense of that day. And so I would suggest that on Friday when we meet, we'll devote maybe 10 minutes to this idea of what kinds of information we might be tweeting and how we'll do it. The obvious tweet is to go to sidelines, and then they can decide if they want to post it, retweet or not. So there's an editorial control there. But there may be other outlets on campus too that might be relevant. So
they may be able to grab a photo down, right? You tweet a
Yes.
photo out, you may be able to grab that photo down and use it in some way. Photos, URLs, all help to richen, make your stuff richer. Again, make you a bigger part of the community. Richer content, coolness factor for photos, retweets, contributes to that ecosystem, and really demonstrates your participation in the community. You're retweeting information that you think other people will find valuable. That's an important piece. Hashtags are a really good way to keep track of stuff. Think of hashtags like a keyword you'd use in Google, except you're creating your own keyword for your own stuff.
And we think we'll take suggestions of hashtags, but we think we have a hashtag for the event, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but think about it. Is there a hashtag that you think might capture the spirit of the day? Think about that.
Yep. Include URLs. Again, more rich content, always a good thing. Can you correct mistakes on Twitter? No.
That's
you
why
make a mistake and tweet it, done.
And that's why we we might want to have an editor looking over a shoulder, even though this is kind of a false situation. It might be a helpful situation on the first round.
Can you attach video? I have never done it, so I'm not going to say yes or no. Yeah, I haven't done it. There's got to be a length to it, though. Anybody know what the length is? It can't be unlimited. It's got to be a length of some kind. Can you search for tweets and hashtags? Yes. Can you add more than one hashtag? Yes. Difference between a tweet, retweet, and direct message. Everybody kind of get what that is, right? There's your risk and reward. It's immediate, can establish credibility, can extend your reach to places you could never get to, like Egypt. Creates engagement with your audience because your audience will follow you and see what's going on. Transparency makes you seem, like you have nothing to hide, and it tightens up your writing. 140 characters, 5 words on average, 5 letters per word on average in a basic sentence. So what is that? Maybe 2.5 sentences. You've got to tell the story in 2 sentences plus hopefully a photo or something else. I have listed mobile tools. I'll make this available to you all. You can take a look at it. There's some great mobile tools out there, great desktop tools, especially for managing things. I found some great links for you for Twitter. There's actually sites dedicated to Twitter for journalists, Twitter in the newsroom. Yeah, really, really good stuff. That Knight Digital Media Center is really pretty hot. I think they've actually just laid off everybody, but it's cool. They're discontinuing the program, but they have really great information. So, if you have any